For those new to me and my projects, this is something that I've been working on for a while. I am producing my own brand of terrain on lizardofdoom.com. So if you have come from there to use this as a tutorial video, hello. If you are new to this from YouTube, make sure you check that out. Let's go. Welcome back to Lizard of Doom. I am Max. Now we're working on the bunker today. The bunker is the most basic piece in the Lizard City set of terrain that I have produced, and it is the easiest to build and paint. So let's get into it. The only parts numbered on these kits are ones that need to be done in that specific order. Everything else is without numbers and can be done after the numbered sections in any order. So make sure you're following these and make sure you check both pieces. If you've got a kit like the bunker that comes with two pieces, they are split between them. So make sure you're having a look at what order you're doing those in. So let's start with piece number 1. Piece number 1 is this wall here with the door on it. You want to find where it's connected to the wooden sprue and pop those areas there out. They are only 0.5 of a mil thick, so they will come out quite easily. And afterwards, just need a little bit of tidy up. You can use a knife to scrape them off, or you could use a little bit of sandpaper to sand them down. Either or, doesn't really matter. They're very easy to tidy up. After we've done that, we need to start gluing bits together. I recommend wood glue. You could use PVA, but this was only a £5 from B&Q and it has lasted me about a year of building terrain. Piece number 2 is the roof. You can see that the roof has 2 extended sections on either side. This is to slot nicely into the building here, from the back, obviously. So what I'm going to do is run a little bit of glue down these lines here, so I can slide it into that wall from the back. Spread that out with my finger. It's not toxic, so it's fine to get on you, and you can wash it off easily with water. Put a few blobs on those tabs hanging over the edge, and push it into the wall. I'm not going to worry about tidying up the overspill right now. As long as you're moving with relative pace through this build, it won't matter right away, and there's a point where it becomes relevant to tidy up when everything is in a sturdy position and nothing is no longer wiggling or moving. That would be after we attach piece number 4. The other wall slides into those previous walls with those divots up from the bottom there. You can see that this one has bits coming down from the top that you can just slide this kit together super simply. This is the basis for all current Lizard City builds, and all the terrain in that range has a similar construction style. So what I'm going to do is put a bit of glue in a line there and a little bit in that gap to hold it all together once it is slid in place. And with the original pieces 1, 2 and 3 together upside down, I'm going to slide this in from the bottom, making sure that the hazard stripe area is at the top. With a little bit of wiggling, you should be able to easily push that down, and we have finally got a sturdier frame to work with. This is the point that I'd recommend you start tidying up your overspill, because nothing is wiggling and squeezing more glue out. After that, we'll go with piece number 5 and slide that in the other side. After making sure everything is tidied up with a bit of tissue, we have the shell of our building. Easy peasy. Should take about 10 minutes to put together. Not much fuss at all. Now on to the decorative outer pieces that just glue on the outside of the frame. This piece has a door shape in the middle that obviously goes around the doors, but something to be aware of is that text above there is an encoded message. It does say lizard, and the one on the other side does say of doom. So make sure you've got them the right way round. Perfect. These 3 circles are important. They are where the cooling fans for this bunker will go. So first of all, take this upside down U-shaped piece and put it there, aligning it with the bottom of the wall and the bottom of the hazard stripes before we move on to the coolant fans. Now these are a bit finicky and the most difficult part to get out of the kit, and I would recommend you clip them with clippers out of the round area that these fans come in, because they can be a little bit delicate and you could break the fan bits off. But if you delaminate anything by accident, that is not a worry. Stick a little bit of glue in there and hold it clamped shut tight, and it will heal itself perfectly. This kit is very forgiving, and MDF as a medium to work with is also very forgiving. Once you've got everything ready, you can glue it over the circular area there. These are kind of just markers, and also the engraving sinks that fan a little bit deeper than the wall around it, so it looks like it's slightly recessed a little bit. Then we've got this very blank wall on the other side to contend with, and that's where the ladder goes to reach the roof. So these L shapes here need to be aligned with it. Make sure the long end is pointing down, because that'll run down from the hazard stripes to the bottom of the wall. Then the ladder needs a little bit of glue, and that goes in the middle with the pointy end of the ladder at the top and the square bit running equal with the bottom of the wall. And then the final L shape is just a mirror of the first. And that was it. That is building the bunker, the most beginner-friendly but interesting piece of terrain I could design. I've been working a long time on this to make something that everyone could build and use in their games. We are done with the building, so let's move on to painting. Now, I primed this with Hyrax Brown, which is from Colourforge, which is very similar, coincidentally, to Rhinox Hide from Citadel. Some people say you need to seal your MDF terrain. I have never had any problems when working with acrylic paint on it. If you are going to be working with stuff like Streak and Grime that relies on a spirit-based medium, that does soak in a little bit more, and I would recommend giving it a coat of PVA glue before you do that. Just a thin watered down coat to seal the wood. And before we get into the painting, just a little reminder, tickle my like button, because that really does help with the algorithm. I'm trying to get this terrain out there and start a little business with this, which would be lovely if you'd help support by liking, and also subscribe if you are new here. I did 2 thin coats of the brown primer. I find Colourforge paint is very thin, so if you're using like a Citadel primer, 1 may do. Just make sure you get all the angles to get all the crevices. After that, I'm going up through these reds: black red, red, dark vermilion, and vermilion from Vallejo with the sponge. This is the most basic, simple, perfect way to be adding texture to MDF terrain. I start with a rather large base coat of the first dark red colour, and then work up in smaller areas through the red, dark vermilion, and vermilion, not being very careful at all, as you can see here. This is for the wall panels in and around the girders and the extra cladding on top of them. This will make it look like dark rusted metal that was once painted nice red, and a perfect living situation that has now gone to hell in the far future. And with that lovely texture added, it's time to move on to the metalwork. I like to use dark silver and silver from Pro Acryl. They are my favourite metallics, and the same technique is used. But this time, when I'm doing the dark silver all over it, I'm making sure to cover those red bits that I got messy with earlier, and making sure it is more of a consistent coat than the red paint on the paneling in between. Once I have coated everywhere on this building, we'll move on to just very small highlights with the light silver. For now, this is looking pretty good, don't you think? As a beginner, would you be happy with this terrain how it is now? You can see an area here above the fans where I have got a little too much paint on the red area from the metallics, but that is solvable by going in with one of the middle colours for the red and just covering that up again. And once that's dry, you won't even notice that mistake. Time to move on to the easiest method of edge highlighting ever. Take a really square edge of the sponge and dab the light silver colour over the very edges of all the metallics. We're not going to be doing any highlights to any other part of the metallics, just the very edges with a very small amount of this silver colour. And it will become very perfectly used metal. So the edges is where this metal would wear. This is why I'm focusing there. As things over the year have knocked into this metal and chipped off the dirt and rust that have accumulated, the bright shiny metal underneath is now exposed to the air. Something of note I did was put a little bit across the bottom of the door where it would scuff the floor, and up the middle crack of the door where those 2 panels would interact with each other as they slide open and closed. This is not an edge highlight as the rest of it, but it's the only area on this build that I have done anything else than edge highlight. Pretty good. Picked out all the nice metallic areas, highlighted them, and kind of lifted them from the panels underneath, without much effort expended at all. Nice. To give you an idea of time, I've painted 2 of these in one afternoon for this video. The next step is going to be those hazard stripes with some Black Legion contrast paint, but we will be starting with the Imperial Fist yellow. The reason I am doing it this way round is because the Imperial Fists yellow is much easier to cover with the Black Legion. So if you make a mistake in the first one, then you can cover it with the second one. And you've just got to be careful with the Black Legion, no matter which way round you do this, because the yellow wouldn't cover it. I wasn't very happy with this at this point. I always experiment with paint jobs on the channel and even in the official tutorial videos for my new terrain, but I wasn't very happy with how this contrast paint was looking. So I thought I'd bring back the hero of this video, Le Sponge, and put some stuff across the top edge there, just repeating the metal techniques I had done before and making this area look as worn as the rest of it. Lovely, chipped, scratched, perfect, old battered steel. To add a little more rust, I went with Scrag Brown. Now I went with something this light because I wanted it to contrast with the dark brown undertones of the primer still showing through. I watered this down incredibly to a glaze consistency and then built it up and made it look like it was dripping down from the top or anywhere that water would run down this building. All the crevices got a bit, and this is nearly the final technique on this building. And now we're there with the rust, this is looking like a really grungy, dirty building. Perfect for a war-torn battlefield on your table. Notice how some of the rust is running out of the coolant fans there because water may gather in them and pool outwards. And the roof got some around those cracks in the plates engraved in the top there, just to make it look like water was seeping into those cracks. The last step is doing a little bit of Citadel Moot Green on the buttons on the door to make them pop out a little bit and contrast with the red walls, because green is the contrasting colour for red, and highlight them with a little bit of ice yellow to make it look like they are lit up, but they're not producing enough light to create an OSL effect on this door. And with that, we are done. This has been a super simple, easy build. And if you've come here from the website for a tutorial video, thank you very much for watching. If you are here from YouTube, however, then this terrain is available at lizardofdoom.com. On screen now and link in description. Thank you to my Patreons that make this possible. This terrain venture is very exciting for me, and I'll be bringing you a tutorial video on every piece. So hold tight and see what comes with that. I'll also be bringing you other videos on different projects. Next week will be a painting video on something else. This channel will not be completely swamped with my own terrain tutorials, but they will be coming in between the main videos when I can produce an extra video that week. With a few additions from other kits in the terrain series, you can see that this really brings this to life as a lived-in building. We've got CCTV cameras from the surveillance kit that fit perfectly on the frame of this building too. You can see them guarding the back door there, one watching outwards and one watching who's approaching from the back door. But also on the front of the building, we have 2 satellites. These are from the comms tower kit. They are different shapes and I've painted them differently to make them look like they do different things. And of course, the sign from the Signs and Barricades kit on the web store too, lizardofdoom.com. So thank you all for watching. Please leave a like for the like god and a comment for the algorithm throne, and I will see you next time. Remember, it is not a pile of shame, it is a pile of future fun. Peace.